glory all over me, no hate on me, no point me, no, no. As I did count my blessings one by one, but I don't call it turn by turn. Wait, you tell no stop me, shine you not to God, then they hate me. Cause I'm a wonder, it is show for me kinda. I keep fly, wonder, it is show for me kinda. Just can't stay cause I'm a wonder, it is show for me kinda. Face it, I'm a wonder, it is show for me kinda. See me, see his glory all over me, no hate on me, no point me, no, no. As I did count my blessings one by one, but I don't call it turn by turn. Wait, you tell no stop me, shine you not to God, then they hate me. Cause I'm a wonder, it is show for me kinda. I keep fly, wonder, it is show for me kinda. Just can't stay cause I'm a wonder, it is show for me kinda. Face it, I'm a wonder, it is show for me kinda. See me, see his glory all over me, no hate on me, no point me, no, no. As I did count my blessings one by one, but I don't call it turn by turn. Wait, you tell no stop me, shine you not to God, then they hate me. Cause I'm a wonder, it is show for me kinda. I keep fly, wonder, it is show for me kinda. Just can't stay cause I'm a wonder, it is show for me kinda. Face it, I'm a wonder, it is show for me kinda. See me.
Thank you very much. We can take our seats.
Ladies and gentlemen, graduating fellows, I salute you. It is my singular honor and pleasure to be given the opportunity to speak on this inaugural occasion of your graduation from the Teach For Sierra Leone program. You are the first cohort that entered this program, and after a very rigorous course of study, you have managed to emerge from it in one whole, intact and ready to go out there to make the change to the lives of children in Sierra Leone. Now, when your dynamic CEO asked me to speak on this occasion, my first instinct was to say to her, Joe, why can't you be the keynote speaker? Because you have been with this cohort. You have gone through experiences with them. So who better to pay tribute to them than your illustrious self? And I am really glad that she listened to me. I didn't even know that she was going to give a speech. But she did send me something, a form of a message to pass on to you. And she herself has beautifully delivered that message. She wanted me to remind you of all the sacrifices and the hardships you have gone through to be able to be here today. Let me quote what she said. She already said it, but I will quote it again for emphasis. By your dogged determination to transcend physical, language, cultural barriers, you have laid the foundation for the transformational impact you are poised to make in the communities that you have recently visited. By your graduation today, you are testifying to the fact that hard work and commitment can pay. And she salutes you with all her heart on this leadership journey. Well spoken, Joe. Spoken like I'm like a mother who has been with her children every step of the way, cheering them on, nurturing them, and wishing them nothing but the best as they embark on the next leg of their journey in schools. Now, listening to all of the speeches today, there are two words or two phrases that stood out for me. And those are leadership and teacher leader. What does that mean? Of course, we just saw a perfect example of leadership in the community. A young girl was on the verge of being married off to a far older man. You took a stance on that. You visited the parents, you cajoled them, you persuaded them, and you reasoned with them to an extent where they changed their minds and allowed their little girl to continue her education. That is a perfect example of leadership. Now, what do we mean by leading? Well, I personally like the phrase leadership and teacher leaders. I like the concept a lot. Not only because it captures the very essence of what it means to be a teacher, but also because it confers on you the responsibility of leading change in the schools and communities where you are going to serve. You are a unique breed of teachers who have been trained specifically to realize the vision of Teach for Sierra Leone. And that vision is, and I quote, that one day all children in Sierra Leone will have an opportunity to attain an excellent education that will help them achieve their full potential, irrespective of their socio-economic status, geographic location, or gender. Teach for Sierra Leone's mission is to accomplish this vision by developing transformative leaders like yourselves who will lead systemic change in the communities where they are going to be located, who will do everything that they can to create a truly liberatory environment that will change education injustices in Sierra Leone. Now, what does that mean? What are we referring to as education injustices in Sierra Leone? One example of education injustice is when the education you receive, if you receive one at all, the education you receive depends on factors such as your wealth, whether you are rich or poor, such as your gender, whether you are a boy or a girl, where you live, whether you dwell in urban areas or in remote rural places, whether you indeed have ability or a disability. These are some of the conditions that determine whether you have access to quality education, such as sound academic programs, highly trained and qualified teachers, or safe school buildings that have an integrity. Or whether in fact you have access to things like transportation to go to school, food in your stomach, and how long you have to work to get to school. These are all examples of injustices, because at the core of justice or social justice, at the core is that all students should have an equal opportunity to be able to get a quality education, irrespective of whether they are rich or poor, or whether they are boys or girls, or whether they are able or disabled. If students do not have access to these provisions because of their status, then it is a social injustice. Now, if you want an education to be at par with those who can afford it, if you do not want a two-tier system of education in this country, which we are trying very hard to dispense of, because at the moment we have public schools and we have private schools. And it bothers me to the core to find out, to learn that most of the excellent results that come out of this country is coming from private schools. We do not train one set of teachers for public schools and another set of teachers for private schools. So how come the private teachers are working so hard, the private school teachers are working so hard, and they are getting the kind of excellent results that they are getting? We do not want that kind of two-tier system in this country. So Josephine and the Ministry of Basic Education will the problem in that. And Josephine especially stood up for that injustice, and she dared to do something about it by introducing Teach For Sierra Leone to this country and investing in fellows like yourselves. Our hope is that you will go out there and do justice not only to the woman who believes so fervently in you, but also for your country. Now, as I said, the government has been very, very generous to us in this country. It is not an easy thing to introduce free quality school education in any society. We see this kind of thing mostly in developed countries where they can afford all of the amenities that go with a free quality education. We have been able to establish this through 4 pathways. Our first pathway is universal access. Now, what we mean by that is that all children in this country should be able to go to school. And so the government, the current government, has created that access by paying school fees for whoever wants to go to school, providing much of the learning materials. They are not yet providing uniforms. Parents are talking to me about that, and I am running that pitch with the government. Hopefully, very soon, they will also take on that responsibility. It is not just about gaining access. Access is what a lot of developing countries have been able to do since the introduction of free education. What matters is not so much the quantity of the children in our schools, but also the quality of the education that they receive. That is very, very important. And as other speakers before me have said, the teaching quality is really what produces quality education. The quality of the teachers as well as the quality of what they provide for our kids in the classroom. Equitable education was what I just referred to, and that is that there should be educational opportunities for everybody, irrespective of whether you are a girl or a boy, whether you are rich or poor, whether you are disabled or not, whether you live in the rural areas or whether you live in an urban center. Now, this is the goal, or these are the pathways that you want to help us achieve. You will do this by teaching against the grain, as we call it in the education literature. Teaching against the grain, meaning embracing and embarking upon teaching in ways that are not presently common in our classroom. As a teacher leader charged with addressing injustices in education, you do not simply teach the curriculum or the subject matter that you have been trained to teach. You also pay attention to larger systemic issues that impact whether in fact your pupils will learn the curriculum materials that you are teaching. As your CEO wrote in her text message to me, and as you yourself have noticed during your practicum in the schools that you have visited, 83% of the children you will be teaching lack foundation in literacy and numeracy. They don't know how to read and write, and their mathematical level is very poor. 55% of those who are teaching them are untrained and unqualified. And 53% of the pupils themselves come from poor rural communities. You will see kids who are experiencing abject poverty. They come to school hungry and they walk over long distances to get to the school. You have already seen some of these kids. They may not have anybody at home to even tell them to go take a book and study. Neither do they have anywhere to sit and do assignment. The only materials they have are those that the government has managed to provide for them. Now, what does a social justice oriented teacher do in that kind of situation? As the chair lady said, I have spent 40 years of my life in teaching and teacher education, and 25 of those years have been spent teaching in a social justice oriented manner. Now, I am going to give you a few tips that have worked for me as a teacher and as a social justice oriented teacher educator. Now, teacher leaders or teacher leaders who are justice oriented, they shape the culture of their school. So that's number one thing. You shape the culture of your school. I saw it in action a few minutes ago. If you become that kind of teacher who looks beyond what is so apparent, and you take a look at your kids, what is going on in their life, what are their problems, they will have the audacity to come to you with their problems. The same way we saw the young girl coming to cry in front of our teachers, please sir, talk to my parents so that I can go to school. That way, you are shaping practice in your school. You are trying to change the culture of your school. Other teachers see you doing this, they will follow suit. The second thing that teacher leaders do is to improve student learning. And there are a number of things you can do to do that. You can become a curriculum specialist. A curriculum specialist doesn't mean that I'm asking you to do a PhD in curriculum studies. When you are a curriculum specialist, you care about what curriculum is all about. Just a few weeks ago, we placed out in the public domain a curriculum framework which we have lacked in this country for almost 20 years. The curriculum framework is the document that lays out the vision and the goals of education in this country. We have put that out there along with the syllabuses and suggested teaching materials and teaching strategies you can use in order to realize those visions. So you pay attention to the curriculum, and beyond paying attention to the documents that you are going to be using, you also pay attention to how you teach. Social justice is about liberating people, just like your CEO said. You liberate students by teaching them to think for themselves, to think critically, to raise questions about issues, not to be satisfied with the status quo. When you teach, do not give them only the perspective that is in the textbook. Give them diverse perspectives. Allow them to have a voice in your classroom. Let them challenge you and your own ideas in the classroom. Teaching is not about creating a mini version of yourself. It is about helping people to think for themselves, to liberate themselves, and to be able to build a better society. You can also become a social justice teacher or a teacher leader by being somebody who can share resources. I know you are young, and so what matters to you most at this time is knowledge of your subject matter and how to control your classroom. But in the process, you should also learn how to build your own resources as a teacher. Whether it is the internet you are going to be using, you are all graduates, you all had degrees before coming into this program. And that is what is so encouraging about the Teach For Sierra Leone program. You are educated young men and women. You have internet savvy. You know how to use the internet, you know how to search for articles, you know how to explore the communities in order for you to build your own teaching resources. When these teaching resources work for you in your classroom and you are able to see results, share those resources with your fellow teachers. Normally in classrooms, we call teaching a very isolated profession because teachers do not share material. They hold materials to themselves, and you have been trained to step out of that box. If something is working for you, share it with your fellow colleagues. You can also become a classroom observer. Become a classroom observer by visiting each other's classroom. This is why I was so happy when your CEO said that you are going to be going out to this school in a cohort. Maybe 3, maybe 2, you have support. So go to each other's classroom, observe each other teaching, give criticism, positive criticism. What was good about this lesson? How could this lesson have been better taught to achieve the objective and the learning outcome you set out to do? If you do that consistently, you will see how much you will grow in your teaching. You will see how much you are not alone. Because I can tell you as a teacher all my life that there is nothing as beneficial as when you share ideas with others. And then of course, you are somebody who is ready to share leadership skills. Now, how do you share leadership skills in the classroom? Well, you share leadership skills by giving responsibilities to your students. Mostly in classrooms, or classrooms I should say, are just a group of learners who are there to achieve the tasks that we give to them as teachers, and to achieve those tasks while their relationships are still very intact. So we do this by bringing them together to work in groups, 21st century skills that we should be developing in our kids. So when you bring them together, take a look at the nature of the task that you are giving them to perform. What are the behaviors that are required for that task? And how can you assign responsibilities for those behaviors? In my own classroom, I usually bring a group of 4 kids together and I give them some task to perform. And I will say, you, Fatmata, you are going to be in charge of this group. Make sure that everybody participates. It's not only one person who is seen as the brightest kid in the team that is going to be doing the work. Because if you do not assign somebody to make sure about that, I can assure you that the vocal and talkative and loud students are going to dominate the whole process. So assign somebody, give that person the responsibility to make sure that everybody participates. somebody else in the group, the timekeeper, to make sure that everybody stays on task and they are not all going out on their own tangents and not participating or focusing on the task that you have given them. Put somebody in charge to make sure that they stay on task. Ask somebody to be the presenter of whatever it is that they are producing as a result of the task that you have given them. So everybody is going to be listening, but assign the responsibility of one person to report on what has come out of the work that you have given them to do. The more you do this, the more you are strengthening your kids in leadership skills. They will thank you for it tomorrow. I promise not to be very long. I've actually cut down my speech quite a lot. Thank God. Josephine agreed to deliver her own speech. So, so let me conclude by saying that if you do this for a number of years, if you decide to stay in the profession, one day you are going to become a mentor. A mentor is a leader who directs or gives support to younger people who are teachers coming after you. You would have learned all of the skills that I've just shared with you, and then you have become a master of those skills, so that those who are coming after you, you will take them under your wings and share those skills with them. That's how you become a mentor. So in conclusion, these are some of the tips that have worked for me as a teacher and a teacher educator. Teachers exhibit leadership in multiple ways. Some leadership roles are formal. They are more formal, they are designated, and they are given responsibilities such as principal, vice principal, senior teacher, department head. But there are other teacher leadership roles that are not formal or designated. They emerge as you interact with your fellow teachers and as you interact with your peers. The variety of roles in leadership is a good thing because it ensures that teachers can find ways, any teacher can find ways to lead in ways that fit their abilities and their interests. This means anybody can become a lead teacher. So with that message, I welcome you to this noble profession, which, as you have heard, is not about making money and getting rich. Our reward as teachers lies in the positive differences we are able to make in the lives of others, and that is a noble vocation. Thank you and good luck in the field.
I stand here to speak on behalf of the Board of Trustees. These are the board behind Teach For Sierra Leone initiative. I will first start to appreciate all the fellows for giving up their time, for believing in the vision our CEO had 7 years ago that comes to reality today. A teaching career is one of the most difficult paths you can decide to follow. It is a job with the utmost satisfaction, not financially, but you become satisfied that you've made the impact needed to make in the community that money cannot buy. You're all privileged to be part of this journey to impact selflessly. One of my challenges, or one of my statements I always say in Sierra Leone, there is no free quality education until we have the best teachers in Sierra Leone. It's the teachers that produce the quality. So how can you say free quality education when you haven't equipped the teachers to produce the quality you're after? So this is why I believe 100% in the initiative of Teach For Sierra Leone. I've had this story, I've had her vision over 7 years ago. I've known Madam CEO for over decades, and I know how selfless and passionate she becomes about something. She's one of those individuals, when you put your mind to something, they will achieve it to the fullest. Once more, congratulations. To the fellows, after 5 weeks residential training and continuous rigorous experiences, even though Madam CEO said you're not ambassadors for the Teach For Salon, I will rephrase and say you're going out into the communities as ambassadors of Teach For Salon. Why did I say so? Because your attitude, your actions, everything you do will be related directly to Teach For Salon. You will be amazed to find out that they won't even know your name in some of these communities. They will be calling you Teach For Salon. So you will be the only teacher for salon they will know in that community. So the impact you make there is what you will associate with Teach For Salon over the years when you've gone and left. So I'll go back and say, you go in as ambassador for Teach For Salon. And the success of Teach For Salon, years and years after that, will also be influenced by the character you demonstrate in the community. After going through all this hurdles, because the board have been following your journey throughout, we might not be saying or commenting every step of the way, but we've been updated and we know what's going on. We've gone through terrible roads, we've gone through remote communities, you've experienced most difficult living conditions, but you dared to the end and stood the test of time. Thank you. So my CEO, I know this is not the end. This is just the beginning of the journey that we intend to continue for generations in Sierra Leone. Teaching career is one of the oldest careers. I can proudly say I grew up from a background where my grandmother was also the head of the kids, and I know and appreciate the impact of education. The inequality in Sierra Leone, I mean, you don't need to be told. You can see it everywhere. I really just hope that Teach For Salon will be one of the greatest anchors to support the government initiative to achieve the free quality education. As I said earlier, free quality education is only possible when you have quality teachers. On behalf of the board of directors, we once more appreciate the family members, friends who entrusted your loved ones under the care of Teach For Salon for 5 weeks. Some of these professionals have not left their home before, after graduation and after the experiences. But because they knew what they were going out for, they entrusted their children, their husbands, their wives, their family members into our care. And I would like to appreciate you all for believing in this journey. And I will promise that Teach For Salon Board of Trustees will support this journey and make any impact necessary. Thank you all.
One teach. Come na TFSL. One lead. Come na TFSL. You want create impact? Come na TFSL. Thank you very much, my fellows. Thank you very much, our chairperson, our esteemed Chief Education Officer of the Ministry of Basic and Senior Education, Dr. Yatakanu, our representatives from the Tertiary Education Commission and the Teaching Service Commission, our partners, the National Youth Service, the Catholic Relief Services, my graduates, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and all protocols observed. Today we recognize and celebrate, we also welcome the inaugural cohort of Teach For Sierra Leone to this great family.
What seems to be a dream 5 to 7 years ago when I launched the National Thank a Teacher campaign in 2013 to recognize, celebrate, and capacitate the most important people in our ecosystems, and that's the teachers. What a journey it has been. A journey indeed for our fellows, for the first cohort. We wanted to celebrate those teachers. We wanted to celebrate those remarkable and selfless people who wish nothing else for ensuring that we get the best in our lives, in our societies, and make the best out of ourselves. They mean nothing but to give us what we need as we traverse this universe. From a very competitive and demanding recruitment process, through matriculation, and then a 5-week intensive residential pre-service training institute. Earlier speakers have mentioned how many modules. Yes, indeed, it was 60, and we completed about 420 hours. Some people never thought we were going to pull through, but indeed, it's a huge success. Some of our modules did cover alignment to our vision and mission, personal leadership development, yes, because we are a leadership development organization. Teaching foundations, yes, indeed, we're executing our leadership program through the classroom. Cohort and community culture, indeed, our fellows will have to immerse themselves and live in those communities and face the realities. And cross-cutting issues that affect education in Sierra Leone. You have been through various formative and summative assessments and transcended the odds to achieve this great feat of graduating fellows 2020. I joined the Board of Governors, the Board of Trustees, management and staff of Teach For Sierra Leone, and all Sierra Leoneans for celebrating you, for taking on this call to national service. You must give yourself a round of applause. Over the last 5 weeks, fellows have been invested into the knowledge, skills, values, and mindsets to begin the leadership journey of becoming lifelong advocates against systemic injustices, inequalities in the education sector in Sierra Leone and globally. Your graduation today is a testament to hard work and deep commitment that you have consistently demonstrated in this leadership journey to your call for national service. 2 weeks ago, you spent a week in deprived schools and communities of the Western area, where your impact was quickly felt by students, teachers, families, school management committees, and community stakeholders as they shared your learning with them. And most of them kept on calling me, "Can you leave these guys here?" I said, "No, they are meant for hard to reach areas." That is our commitment. And with that commitment, last week you traversed high-need schools in underserved and rural communities in Falaba, Koinadugu, Bombali, Moyamba, and Putloko. You surmounted yourselves to the physical and psychological odds to make significant impact in those vulnerable and marginalized communities. You immerse yourself into the complex lived realities of schools, communities, and foster collective leadership with education stakeholders to improve learning outcomes in those schools. By your dogged determination to transcend physical, language, and cultural barriers, you laid the foundations for the transformational impact that you all are poised to make in those areas. I want to salute you again, my dear fellows. Those of us who have been in development work, especially in the development world, to be specific in the UK, know the challenges of accommodation, food, and hygiene in some of those rural areas. These are like a shopping list sometimes when you go to development conferences. All they tell you about Sierra Leone or underdeveloped countries are just the odds about those societies. I think enough of that. We've had enough. But what you did, it was indeed surprising that some of you had to sleep on those floors for days, shared your space with rodent and poultry, went to bed hungry, and some days, but you never wavered in the fight to end educational inequity in Sierra Leone and globally. Thank you again. In early January 2021, you will start your 2-year placement in these hard-to-reach schools and communities. Let me assure you that the lessons you will learn in those years and the experiences you will gain will be nothing you have ever seen before. You will see firsthand what systemic injustice is all about, both in schools and communities. You will learn far more than the knowledge you will ever impact in those schools. You will learn from the kids that you're about to impact. You will be catapulted into a new dimension of life, which that will help you to take stock of your past, revise your priorities in life, and undertake a journey of self-discovery. As you journey, always remember that you're not alone. And also, you're not only an ambassador for Teach For Sierra Leone, but a great patriot and proud citizen of Mama Salone. Your actions and inactions will not only make a break or do anything negative to TFSL, but will have the compound effect of destroying our beloved Sierra Leone. So as you go to serve, serve well. As you go to lead, lead well. The impact you want to create, ensure you do that. So no pressure, but the ball is now in your court, my fellows, to transform the lives of those kids in hard-to-reach areas. Transform the learning outcomes of our children regardless of their socio-economic status, geographical location, or gender, and make us proud or be judged negatively for prosperity. In our schools, over half of the system teachers might be untrained and uncertified. Over 80% of your children may lack basic literacy and numeracy skills. There might be even more attempts to sell some of the young teenage girls into your schools to early marriages. I urge you to stand firm in the face of these challenges and work with the last drop of your blood to turn around the sad state of affairs for the common good of our children. You owe it to the children of Mama Salone. You owe it to the nation. If you're a patriotic Sierra Leonean, a lot is required of you, and this is just one of them. You owe it also to TFSL for all the resources, all the investments that we have invested in you. You owe it to those underserved communities. You owe it to Mama Salone. Now, I just want to say thank you to the many people who have journeyed with us through this path. Because I have a commitment to my country. People know me as a journalist, yes, but that's enough. I've been informing, I've been educating, but what are the impacts? I can't count that much. I want to make a much more impact into the lives of those kids whose story resonates. I want to say that what demonstrates the values of integrity, hard work, and unity, community service. That is what Teach For Sierra Leone is calling for, not for myself, but to yourselves. You are the first of many fellows to begin this journey and make the impact in Sierra Leone. So you now have the opportunity to ensure, you now have the opportunity to ensure You create a roadmap that the rest of the other fellows will follow. Many thanks to my esteemed Chief Education Officer, because she knew the dream. This dream that seems so hard is now a reality. She understands what I want to do in Sierra Leone. Please, ladies and gentlemen, help me thank this wonderful and beautiful woman. Because she put an end to that journey, that tireless journey. Because when she came, when I spoke to her and said, this is what I want to do, she didn't even belabor. She said, yes, I'm with you on this. And since then, it's been seamless. Thank you very much. So the Teaching Service Commission, yes, they have the mandate for the teachers, but over time, we engaged and engaged. And when the time was ripe, they embraced us. I want to say thank you also in absentia to Dr. Stanella Beckley for her support, and all the staff, the management and staff of the Teaching Service Commission. Thank you, Ms. Serena. You're here to represent that commission. I also want to say a big thank you to the Tertiary Education Commission. Professor Algali is not here, but he has a representation. Please relay my thanks, sir, to our lovely professor. Those are people when you engage. Sometimes it's good to engage. When you speak to people on a one-on-one basis, they get to understand what you intend to do, and they'll just follow. So I just want to say a big thank you to that other commission. For Teach for Sierra Leone to be a reality, somebody is not here, but I know the words will seem down to him, and that's the youngest and dynamic Minister of Youth Affairs, Mr. Mohammed Oman Bangura, who ran with my vision. He knew I want to invest into the young people of this nation. When I shared the vision of Teach for Sierra Leone to say, look, you have young people that are so qualified to go to these hard-to-reach areas, but you're not making use of them in the education sector. Why are you just choosing the other sectors? Please allow me to pitch my organization to you. The day I did, Mr. Oman Bangura called the Executive Director of the National Youth Service, and it was all rosy. I want to celebrate that gentleman for being so you know, when somebody, you have the vision of where you want your country, I think we need to celebrate His Excellency the President, retired Brigadier Julius Madabio, for his exemplary leadership in choosing someone like Oman Bangura, because had it not been the National Youth Service through the Minister of Youth Affairs, Teach for Sierra Leone will still be creeping on the floor. So thank you once again, Oman, in absentia. Before I take my seat, I want to charge you all fellows. It's not going to be an easy journey. You've been there a week, you came back with a lot of concerns, you're there to teach, you're there to lead, and you're there to impact. The impact you make are the legacies that you will leave in those communities. So when you go to teach, teach well. When you want to lead, lead selflessly. And you went to one, when you want to make that impact, think about nothing else. Give your all. So please, you are going there as an ambassador, not for Teach for Sierra Leone, but for the nation. So, may posterity judge you favorably for this call to national service. I thank you all.
On behalf of the TEC, we are extremely happy for Teach for Sierra Leone for the good work they are doing. I want to assure Teach for Sierra Leone that the TEC is always willing to support it. And we want to thank the entire management for the good work. And we believe that this is just a start. And they have a long way to go. And they can count on TEC that we are always going to be there to give them all the necessary support. I thank you all.
On behalf of the Teaching Service Commission, I stand by protocol to represent the chair of the commission, a woman of perfectionist. The chair, I want to acknowledge the CEO of MBSSC. She has done much job for us to see quality education in Sierra. And we clap for the CEO of MBSSC. I know her better. I know the job she has been doing towards quality teaching in Sierra Leone. Now, the TSC stands for something. I want to know this. We have a slogan, we say, strong teacher, stronger nation. Let's say it. Stronger teacher. Let's say it once more. Stronger teacher. All what participants or whatever I've seen are talking about stronger teachers and building a stronger nation. And that's what we stand for. On Wednesday I spoke of change also. I said to change. Now you have been refined by the institution, and I believe you have changed. The journey that you are going to do is not an easy one. I pray that God will guide you, because you are going to remote areas, places where no family, no friends, no connectivity. I believe with all what you have done, with all the rigorous training, you will make it. Also, I want to emphasize the quotation that I gave you on Wednesday. It will serve you better. That we didn't go to the teaching field to get rich, but to enrich others. Now with me, once more. We didn't go into the teaching field to get rich, but to enrich others. You are there to build society. You are there to enrich society. You are there to make the broken society. You are there to make Sierra Leone great again. With all this, there are values I want you to take on. Be honest with yourself and colleagues. Be accountable to your work. Transparent, and more so learner sensitive. The play that was done was based on learner sensitive. Bravo for that play. You are going to teach, inspire, motivate the community. Also, there is a book called The Code of Conduct for Sierra Leone.
Education systems all over the world, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, such as Sierra Leone, is proven out of research and practice to be the only remedy for development in and around the sub-regions. Madam Chairperson, education is a fundamental human rights matter enshrined in all working documents of the United Nations. States and governments are required to abide by Vision 2030, Education for All. Such commitments may start from quality teacher training to produce quality students, making education free, accessible, and of quality. This education must in turn be able to transform, reform, and restore the broken wreckages in societies such as tribalism, nepotism, corruption, unemployment, teenage pregnancy, hooliganism, and so forth. In the words of Bloom, and I quote, He said, education is the movement from darkness to light. And to add to that, quality education is an anti-resistance to poverty. Reading from Develop Africa 2020 report, Madam Chairperson, quality education is the fourth sustainable development goals for both developed and developing nations. It gives an assurance of improved quality of living and believes that education is the key to unlocking the golden door of freedom for all Africans. A freedom from fixed mindsets to growth mindsets. According to Matthew Prempe, the Ghanaian Minister of Education, during the 2020 World Innovation Summit for Education, he said, there is an evidence of quality education, but quality without access will lead to inequality and exclusion. Access without quality will limit the potential and will not bring out the desired results. End of quote. Madam Chairperson, distinguished colleague fellows, Africa's development and the wave of globalization is dependent on leaders. Leaders that are ready to teach, lead, and impact. Impact Sierra Leone and beyond. This is a state-worthy service given by Teach For Sierra Leone to all of us graduates of TFSL Cohort number 1. Madam Chairperson, distinguished guests, my inscription into Teach For Sierra Leone family is divine and it's aligned with my aspirations in academia. TFSL has opened my eyes to greater possibilities for change in the education of Sierra Leone. My keen observation since the recruitment, assessment and training process places Teach For Sierra Leone as an honest, non-partisan redeemer of our education system, especially to those that has to do with educational inequities in Sierra Leone. For me, I believe Teach For Sierra Leone needs a hand drawn from the government of Sierra Leone and other development partners to help this organization attract young graduates like us with a shared vision to reach the unreached with quality education that will improve learning outcomes in those other privileged communities. With the enriched knowledge acquired, I know we all, and we are, but very ready to effect the change in our respective placement occasions. And we want to say for Teach For Sierra Leone and all of us, it's a sacrifice we are ready to give for Sierra Leone, and a sacrifice we must give. Long live Teach For Sierra Leone, and God bless.
An overview of my experience at recruitment, assessment, and training at Teach For Sierra Leone. Madam Chairperson, the Chief Education Officer, distinguished personalities, fellow brethren, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. In the words of Tabichi, 2019, quality teacher is the sanity of a state. He further stated that to face the challenges of the fourth industrial revolution, more teachers need to be employed, trained, and retained. Madam Chairperson, I'm proud to say that Teach For Sierra Leone has acted proactively to remedy the challenges of untrained and unqualified teachers by offering an intensive course on teacher and leadership development. Today, I see myself as a proud and determined teacher, leader ready to teach, lead and impact on the privileged children in the rural or hard-to-reach areas of Sierra Leone. Madam Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, we suffer the usefulness of education because we lack the transformational tool of patriotism to better Sierra Leone. Inequality is an injustice to the rich, poor, and destitute. We thank God as a nation that we have Teach For Sierra Leone, that is committed to ending injustices in education. In all my years of learning, I believe TFSL has created an impact that makes me feel reborn. I have attained the confidence to showcase my leadership qualities, which I will be forever grateful for. No other institution has developed my mind as TFSL through the rigorous sessions at the Training Institute. I do believe I will be able to perform excellently in all fields to the best of my ability because I have been highly equipped by Teach For Sierra Leone to teach, lead, and impact. Thank you.
You are doing fine. Thank you. Thank you. Sit down. Class, today's date is the 5th of December 2020, and as you know, yesterday in our previous lesson we talked about living things, right?
Yes, sir.
So today we are going to look at non-living things in that way. So who can tell me what is living thing?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Living things are things that are right.
Calm down, Jamila. I know, Jamila. Jamila, calm down. I want you to calm down, okay? Jamila. I thought you were to marry me up to all married. Oh my God!
Then you can't get too mad.
Let's go to classroom.
I will talk to
Jamila, Jamila, calm down. We talk to your parents.
Jamila, wait. Wisdom.
So, with the issue tona, what tona can't tell we now?
Well, as we try for say, we look at the benefits if Jamila go school, the thing that we go get. You know, say the CEO for Teach For Sierra Leone, a woman, Yoshi Shai. Exactly. Shaiu or Shaiu. Saidu. Saidu. Okay, Josephine Saidu. Now woman, not cool. So you see, if Jamila back now allow to go school, it will become somebody like that woman there. And now we look again, we first lady one they call Fatima Bio. Who got a program they call Answer for Our Girls. If we allow Jamila to follow you go school, it will become somebody like that. And that time they, like when they say animal and don't eat you plantation, you know what happen? Wait for me, Tamaka. Come me, Tamaka, because me I don't want, let me ask no small. No Tamaka, you fine. But this time you go to the store, they come with the key. We got it. What is up with you see? This trip, I don't say nothing. That's what you will consider. You know what? Okay. We know that day.
Okay. What we go tell we now, we go benefit we. Because we want money, because for you to pay in money. Small money we go manage no more.
this one tell me wait like 5 days then. This one where she show. Well, you see, ultimately Jamila for go school. If Jamila don't go to school, then think that all over the top of say we not get thing for it. Or not get over. Jamila, you are no school. Daddy, I want no school. Mr. Baka, don't make me I don't can no school. You know say that you're going to pay school fee. You don't die, that woman. Josephine Sayu, he said, I don't share. I don't know. You wear glasses. That thing, you man that the 3 eye. You get down. I don't know. You want that leg up? I want that leg up, Papa. Tell you, teacher, I see. That you're going to pay school fee, all that. If they agree no more for pay school fee, I really go school.
Yes, Mr. Mariani, Daddy said the only upgrade they pay for me school fees don't die. So we don't get no other option again for write money for go school.
Well, you see, now the good thing is that we get free education. Meaning, for that day, Jamila not they pay nothing again. Free that. You know they pay nothing. Money. So, when I just allow Mama, you be in a school for
My colleague fellows want to say a very big thank you for honoring our invitation and for such a wonderful speech. Thank you very much for inspiring us, and we are going to take your tips into consideration and use them. Thank you very much. I want to say a very big thank you.
God bless the hard-working CEO, Madam Josephine M. Saidu, and the management and staff. You want tea, Mama? Not tea FS, Mama. You want lead, Mama? Not tea FS, Mama. You want great impact, Mama? Not tea FS, because we teach, we lead, we the great impact salon, we teach, we lead, we the great impact salon, we teach, we lead, we the great impact salon. It's all about what you want for your country. Keep my family down. Fasamara Bamba. Keep them all. Keep them. Fasamara Bamba. Teacher for land for speaking. Speaking for sky and land book. Teacher for them land book. Olia them land book. Teacher for land for speaking. Speaking for sky and land book. Teacher for them land book. Olia them land book. Abakanya for good. Abakanya for good. Abakanya for good. Teach me if I can live that. But tomorrow I'm by. Get them, get them. But tomorrow I'm by. Teacher for land for teach speaking. Speaking for sky and land book. We all for them land book. Them land book.
I am honored to stand here to give the vote of thanks for this wonderful ceremony. I'll start by saying thanks to God Almighty for making this program a success and for keeping us through the 5 weeks training institute. The journey has not been easy, but God has been there. I also want to say thank you to our different speakers. Thank you all for the words of courage and concern, and also for the support you all give to push and strengthen this organization in order to change the lives of pupils in those deprived communities. Madam CEO, on behalf of your fellows, I say thank you for your hard work, effort, perseverance, and resilience. I know that your hard work has inspired all of us.
thank you for taking this commitment to serve Sierra Leone. Another thanks and appreciation to the management and staff of Teach For Sierra Leone, Head of Training, Mommy Liz, Lead Coach, LDOs, Warden, and every staff of Teach For Sierra Leone. We know the journey has not been easy, but I want to say thank you all for your patience towards us fellows, our invited guests. I stand here to say thank you for leaving your busy schedule in order to grace this program. I cannot leave this podium without saying thanks to fellows. Leaving family members and loved ones home has not been an easy decision to make, but we did it in order to serve our country, and we will do the best of our abilities. I thank you all.
Jerusalem,